What's up, y'all? Hey, hi. All right, so if you're watching on YouTube, sup? I'm leoparded out today. Leopard. Wearing it on my mug. Too much? I don't care. Um, it is Sunday, and I'm hopping on this mic because I got a few minutes here. I'm not gonna lie to you, this episode probably gonna be everywhere. It's probably gonna be all over the place. Because A, that's how we roll. B, that's how my mind is. So we're gonna do that. Here's the deal. Every single time I ask on my Instagram, what do you guys want me to talk about? Several people slip in anxiety during pregnancy after loss. And honestly, I do have episodes on pregnancy after loss. I have the actual creator of the pregnancy after loss support app on the web on the how am I saying, podcast. So it just goes to show how everyone's like, I don't give a shit about anything else. I just want to know like how to do this. So this is what we're going to talk about. Obviously, I'm going to segue. I'm going to talk about whatever I want. I hope that works for y'all. Okay. Basically, what I did was ask you guys what topic you want to hear. And it was mainly, I mean, there was a bunch of stuff, but I actually already had episodes on these things. And I'm probably just going to run back topics, no problem. But particularly anxiety during pregnancy after loss, or PAL or PAL, whatever you guys want to call it. But so I've got y'all's answers. Anonymous, Avi, but I've got your answers here. We will talk about your questions and concerns because I may not have the answers, but at least, like to all of them, but at least y'all know that other people have the same concerns and fears, which I think validation is huge during pregnancy after loss. I remember texting one of my close lost mama friends, and I was like, hey, I've spiraled like 16 times this week. And her response was, yeah, I know. Like, there's nothing I can do that's going to fix that. It's going to happen, but just know I did it too. And that made me feel better. Granted, the spiraling, I would love to have had some magic fix, but we'll get to that. But the point is that she made me feel like I was quote unquote normal in this feelings that I had. Um, we're actually going to talk about medication. Um, and we'll get into that because a lot of you had mentioned it. So I just wanted to shine a little light on that topic. And then you guys gave some what was helpful during your pregnancy after loss that I'm going to share outside of my own perspective. I think community is gigantic and it's so important. And the reason why community is so gigantic is because you need to feel seen, heard, validated for what's going on. You need to know that others are doing it too. For some very weird reason, humans need that. If you don't, okay, but I really truly feel that it's super important to be validated for your feelings because other people are going to say things to you like, oh, just think positively, or you're just lucky to be pregnant again. And oh, you're almost there. And it's like, shut the fuck up. You have no clue that I can't sleep because I'm afraid I'm crushing my baby or it's gonna die. I literally can't go to the bathroom without looking for blood because I'm terrified of a miscarriage. I um, go to every single doctor's appointment shaking because the ultrasound is where I found out my other baby died. Like, guys, this is hard. And unless you've done it, you just really, you don't know. You just don't know. And some of us don't want to tell people, like, hey, bitch, like I spiraled at the doctor today. How was your Friday? You know? But this is what we're going to do. We're going to tackle this. Now, this is what I mean when I say phases of lost life. Okay. So you, your baby dies, or you've had a loss, whatever it is. And then you're in that weird trenches thick of it where you don't know what the hell is going on. You can't function, you can't breathe, you can't sleep, you can't eat, you can't get up off the bathroom floor because you're crying and throwing up. You can't even shower because you can't look at yourself. I mean, it is disaster. If you're in that right now, God, I wish I could hug you. But if you're in that right now, this girl, waving to myself, used to be in that. And 2.5 years now out of it, it is still a very poignant memory of mine of how horrific that was. That phase does change. Okay. And then you move into, whoa, okay, so what do I do now? How do I move forward? How do I take my baby with me, move forward? And you start to see people misbehave. You start to see people drop off. So you go through a phase of losing relationships. You go through a phase of like, what is my religion now? What is my faith? What is my relationship with God now? You go through phases of like trying to lose weight or not losing the weight, not looking like yourself, but not having a baby. Like what? The phases are insane. Um, and then, some of us go through this weird trying to conceive phase. And I am going to touch on that because in order to be pregnant after loss, you got to go through the trying to conceive phase or go through whatever it is that you want to do to get to that point. I will be honest, laying in my bed in the ICU, because y'all know, if you know my story, I hemorrhaged after Brody was born and had to have emergency life-saving surgery. I don't know why I laugh. I laugh when I say that. What the fuck is wrong with me? I just always forget that part of my story because to me, it doesn't matter. Like, my baby was dead. I was like, see you soon, Brody. Like, peace out. But it's not exactly what happened. I went into DIC, hemorrhaged, had to have couple blood transfusions, was allergic to the blood. That was weird. That put me upside down. It was nuts. Then I had to sign away that they could take my uterus if they couldn't stop the bleeding. That was even crazier. But if you want to hear all that, that's in my story. It's one of the earlier podcast episodes. Anywho, so I woke up in the ICU and I was like, when can I try again? And that was my empty arms speaking. That was being a mother without a baby. And it was wild. And honestly, so many people ask that question from their hospital beds. It is not psycho. It is not, it is a little, but that's where our brains go. We have empty arms. We are physically missing a piece of our body. And automatically your brain is like, well, how do I get that? How do I get that back? How do I get a baby in my arms immediately? Like I was even asking around, like, does anybody in this hospital not want their baby? Like, is anybody going to put it up for adoption? I'm like, right here. Like, I'll take it. I'll take this baby home. I'll take your baby home. Can somebody get me someone who doesn't want their baby? Like, so I can take them. I mean, it happens, guys. It's so normal and natural. So don't feel like you're psycho. After that, I went through a phase probably around like 4 or 5 months out that I was like, Brody's my only. No, I'm lying. It's like 3 or 4 months out. I was like, Brody's my only. It would be deceitful to get pregnant again. I don't want any other children. I want to highlight him and honor him and talk about him and him only for the rest of my life. And it was like, I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I don't know. It was like the only way to hold on to him, I thought, was just to never have any more children. And then I quickly learned that was not it. And that was not what I wanted for him. I wanted him to have siblings, living siblings, to continue his name, even when I'm gone. I wanted to expand our family. And that was the thing, though, guys. Like, I will be completely honest, my journey here. So, when I first started trying to conceive, okay, first of all, Brody was like, I was actually tracking not to. I'd gone off birth control to clean my system. I froze my eggs to buy myself some time because my partner at the time and I weren't ready. And then after all that, I got jacked up after all those hormones. Like, I did not respond well to them. It was not cute. I was spiraling and crying, dark, dark, dark place. Hormones out of control. They gave me a lot of hormones. I mean, I got like a ton of eggs. It was very painful. I went to a reproductive specialist who said things like, "We're doing this once." And I was super thankful, but what that meant was they threw like the sink at me and was like, "Here's everything, because we're just going to do this one time. I don't want to put you through this again," which I really appreciated, because I think a lot of times fertility clinics, reproductive doctors, or whatever, are like, "Well, let's try this And if that doesn't work, we'll add this. And then if that doesn't work, we'll add this. Next thing you know, you're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months out and then nothing's working. So this guy was like all at once. And so after I the see how I tangent? Whatever. Um, I went off birth control because I was like, I need to just cleanse my system. So I was tracking and I was tracking obviously completely wrong. And Brody was a little happy surprised. We were so excited. Um, and you know, then so when we started trying after he died, I thought it was going to be like that, like quick, 1 month. That's what I thought. And that didn't happen. Like I was like, oh, wow, interesting. Like, why didn't that happen that month? I mean, I did all the same stuff as I did with Brody 1 year before, or yeah. So I was confused on why that didn't happen. And, I thought everyone was like, have fun, trying's fun. And I was like, this isn't fun. Sorry, like not that sex, isn't fun, but it felt more like we were on a mission. And then the negative test was like, oh my God, wow, I'm another month away from being closer to having a living baby in my arms. So that's where my head was. It was just timeline. It was like, oh wow, we're at least 10 months from having a living baby. And so that's what I wanted. I just kept saying, I'm a mother without a baby. I'm a mother without a baby. I just want a living baby. I just want a living baby. And that mentality really was pressure and was really it really kind of detached me from the whole thing. It was wild. This went on. I mean, and then, we tried a second month. That didn't work. I talked to my reproductive specialist because I was like, "Hey, look, I'm not really I don't know what's going on here. I'm really, really, kind of anxious and depressed, and I've got stress and grief and trauma, and maybe that's having something to do with my system." They're like, first things first, let's get uh, what's it called? Sonohystogram. Sonohystogram is when they shoot your uterus full of liquid so they can see if there's anything in there, like obstructions or polyps or growths or scar tissue, whatever it may be, because they said that if I get pregnant and it implants on scar tissue, I will miscarry. And they truly don't feel like my brain can handle that. So, or my heart. So I was like, all right, cool, whatever it takes. So I'm probably going to mess up my timeline here because honestly, it's not crazy. Like trying to conceive was such a hole in my timeline. Like it was everything. And now I'm kind of like, let me go back and look at exactly what happened there. Um, so I did have a hysteroscopy because they did find polyps and scar tissue from my surgery with Brody. And they said it was blocking 40% of my uterus. That meant like nothing could swim and get in there or drop or get in there, whatever it is. So they were like, we should probably get this out. Um, and I did. I had a hysteroscopy. Easy peasy, but I think that took out a cycle because they were like, please don't get pregnant right before this. So that took out a cycle. And then I'm pretty sure the next one, I probably wasn't like super ready physically to do it. Now, I will say, during this time, I'm starting to investigate my mental space and my emotional space when it comes to having more children. I had a conversation with another lost mama who was really into the book Spirit Babies. Say what you want, whatever. There's tons of things that everybody likes that we cling to that work for them, but not all of it has to work for you. So, there were some parts of this book I did look at it and I was like, some parts are like, yeah, that's not for me. But the main message really resonated. And I was thinking, it said something along the lines of if your baby is out there in heaven, universe, whatever, and can see you, would they choose you? And I was like, no, I'm a basket case, and I can't stop with Brody. This doesn't look like a fun situation to put yourself in. So I was like, no baby wants to be my baby right now. I need to get my shit together. And what ended up happening was somehow I switched my mental space, and it was like, it wasn't, I'm a mother without a baby. I just want a living baby. It was, I want to expand my family. I want to give Brody a living sibling. And as soon as I shifted that, the replacement of Brody was out the door. That was no longer a fear. And it was expanding my family to make it a party of four instead of just three. And when that happened, things really started to change. I was literally pregnant the next month. Um, but I'm skipping over. After my hysteroscopy, I did utilize letrozole. I chose letrozole because it had a less chance of multiples. And multiples, while it sounds wonderful because you get to make up for lost time, super too high risk for me, and I would have been a nervous wreck. So I did letrozole. Letrozole was fine. I was very aware I was ovulating. It was very uncomfortable to ovulate, but I was appreciative because I was like, oh, things are happening. Well, it didn't work. So now what are we at? Month 4. Month 5, I did it again just to try it again. And at this point, I'm talking to my reproductive specialist. I'm like, hey, I'm exhausted. You know, I do have an episode on the podcast called Sex and Intimacy After Loss, and we do talk about this. We do talk on how that goes into and plays into trying to conceive. Like I had the ovulation sticks out. I had the whole method and up. Hey, it's the day, and it became such a hyper focus that I think that was detrimental to the success of everything, to the mental health, well-being. So that was extremely challenging. And I ended up doing IUI along with the regularly scheduled program to add it in. And when I tell you the relief of having that backup was insane. This doctor, same one that did my egg freezing, was like, we're going to do this once. And so he put me on letrozole, um, and metformin. Now, I'm probably going to do a whole nother tangent on this at another point, but metformin is a diabetic drug that was shown to help with PCOS. Now, I did not have PCOS according to all my like tests and paperwork, but he was like, let's just rule this out in case something's not showing up and this might help. So I when I'm metformin, I dropped a bunch of weight too because it makes you super nauseous. So and then like now everyone's talking about like Ozempic babies because this diabetic weight loss drug is now helping women regulate and they're ovulating, So I mean it's incredible. So I think that was a key. So if you're kind of dabbling in this, ask about it. I know some people are like afraid to. I did a bunch of research. There's absolutely no really bad repercussions to taking it other than it made me really nauseous and you can't eat like crap at all or it messes you up. But I did that and added that. And then about like, I think I did a trigger shot because I wanted to make sure that I did ovulate. And then we were still, doing natural stuff. On top of all of that, I was doing holistic things, acupuncture, acupressure, red raspberry leaf tea. Again, guys, I'm not a doctor. This is just the stuff that I did. And I don't know if which one worked or any of it worked. I don't know. I will say having the IUI did relax me mentally and emotionally. So I don't know if that had anything to do because my cortisol levels were probably through the roof. And I really do think that has a lot to do with conception. Our hormones are just how we feel. My God. Um, and let's see. I did okay. So then 4 days after the IUI, I started progesterone capsules only until 10 weeks. Do some research on that though, because studies are showing poor effects on males, babies. So just do your research on things before you make decisions. That's all I'm asking. Um, and then I did Lovenox 4 days after. So before a positive, because a lot of doctors are now thinking that Lovenox, which is a blood thinner, because I have factor 2, and even if you don't have a blood clotting disorder, they're showing that Lovenox is assisting in fertility, is assisting in conception, and is assisting in implantation. So, yeah. So on top of all that, I was taking, vitamin B12 complex, vitamin E. I was taking CoQ10 for the quality of my eggs. Like I was doing all the things. Look this all up, guys. Do your research. And this is what I want to tell you. I will never be like, hey, you should do this. Do what's best for you. But this is what worked for me. And that IUI did work. I could not take a pregnancy test until exactly 14 days after the IUI because it would have popped a positive because of all the drugs in my system. As far as the trigger shot, would have made it a positive. But yes, that one actually worked. And Wolfie's here, and going back, that's how my trying to conceive journey was. Like as soon as I relaxed, as soon as I took it out of like the daily plan, I mean, obviously it has to be a priority, but as soon as I had something that mentally made sense, emotionally, and for my heart, like all those things, all those pieces really did help, I think. Now, a lot of you do ask me, how do you know you're ready to try again? I'm going to be completely honest. You are never ready. You're never ready. What happens is you just do it and then you become ready as you go. What I did was a ton of work on my emotional space, my mental health. I did trauma therapy and grief therapy. I cleared out all negative and toxic people that were not making me feel comfortable or safe. I got a good group of support. I interviewed doctors. I had conversations with specialists. I had tons of conversations. I did tons of tests to find out what happened to Brody. So basically, what I did was I lined up what I thought may have been a contributor to his death. I then dealt with physically what I could control during the pregnancy. For example, taking Lovenox, extra monitoring, watching movements more, monitoring the placenta and measuring the placenta. I had all my tools in my toolbox that I needed physically to get through a pregnancy. At least I thought. Okay. And then I also had all the tools to help me manage my anxiety and my fears to get through the pregnancy. So getting those things in check was really helpful for me. I then trusted that I'd be able to handle anything that came my way because I had a good support system, good doctors, a good team. I just lined it all up. Okay. And then honestly, I mean, the fear of not having a living baby far outweighed the fear of going back into it. Okay. The love and the hope that I had for the future children that I didn't even know yet. I mean, I felt like I knew them. I already felt really connected to Wolfie before I even conceived him. I already felt like I knew he was coming, which is so strange. I've never been this type of person. Okay. I mean, like, things were happening. I was getting weird signs and like crazy signs that I was like, I'm not explaining that. Things falling over, lights coming on that shouldn't be on, things showing up that I was like, what is this? And it's super interesting and whatever works for each one of us. Am I right? So I don't know. I just dove in. I just really, my hope and my fear collided, but the hope and the love were stronger than any fear. And I know there's a fear of losing a baby. Absolutely. We should be fearful. We are entering back into a traumatic situation. Not many people go back into the water after they're bitten by a shark. That's what we do. We go back in and we face it head on. Active trauma. It's crazy. It is, but we are mothers and this is what we do. Now, my goal here is to try to either give you some insight on what this is like if you're considering trying again, give you some insight what it's like if you are newly pregnant after a loss, or just maybe help you feel validated if you are already deep in the trenches of pregnancy after loss. Now, I'm going to be honest. Somebody told me that pregnancy after loss is the second hardest thing you'll do. What's the first? Delivering and giving up your baby. It's the hardest thing. Pregnancy after loss is the second because you're dealing with trauma, memories, guilt, fear. And there's really not much you can do to alleviate that. You can't have the glass of wine. You can't pound the Xanax. You can't go to a hot yoga class. Like, you can't do a lot of the things that would usually help. Um, so we're going to try to tackle this. All right. Have I said too much already? Okay. So here's the deal. Pregnancy after loss does have its own phases, at least for me. And I've heard this as well from others. Understand, y'all, my information is coming from personal experience, having a million conversations with others, and then I've got all you guys telling me what you think. So this isn't just me being like, this is me, and I'm the only one. No, there's others that feel this way. In the very beginning, getting the positive, I was like, oh my God. It was so emotional because there was a minute I thought I would never be able to do this again. I thought I would never. 6 months of trying. I mean, people try for years. I understand that. And oh my God, like I can only imagine how horrible that is. Because 6 months almost took me out. But I was like, oh my God, this may not happen again. And what are my options if I can't do this again? And so the fact when I got a pregnancy test, I was like very happy about it. So let's be completely like the happy congratulations. I really was not turned off by. I wanted them, I needed them, and that was fine. I needed to validate this is happening and this is exciting. But I will tell you, everybody that I told looked at me like, "We'll believe it when we see it. Let's just get to the finish line." They weren't overly happy, which was really sad because I think they were scared too. They were scared of me losing another one, which means they would lose another one. When I say them, I mean family, my parents, my in-laws, close friends, siblings, they were like, "Okay, great, let's just get to the end here." Which I didn't expect. That was tough. That was really tough. And I know a lot of you don't want to tell people, which breaks my heart. Not for you, but for the baby. I know. To each their own, to each their own. I announced to the world around 14 weeks. Not that I gave a shit at what timeline, because I was fully convinced then there was no proper time to say when you're pregnant, because there's no safe zone in pregnancy. Oh, 10 weeks. Oh, the odds of a miscarriage decrease significantly. Doesn't matter. Oh, you got to the viability. Oh, okay, great. The odds are really good. Doesn't matter. Oh, congrats, you're at 30 weeks. You were almost there. If he comes now, it's fine. Okay. Brody died somewhere between 36 and 37 on paper. Might have been more like 38 and a half. And there's no safe zone. And it was like, I don't want to tell people and then have to get really weird condolences if something happens. I will tell you that. That really, really freaked me out. But then I started to get really guilty that nobody knew about Wolfie. And I needed people to know about him because I didn't know how long I would have him. I didn't tell people about Brody. Brody was a little secret between us for a very long time. I finally started telling family at like 20, 22 weeks. Did not tell the internet. I've had baggy clothes on a lot. And I really regret that a lot because I lost him. And the only time I had him was when he was alive in my belly. And if I'd known that, I would have treated my pregnancy much differently. I did not want that same thing to happen with Wolfie. I needed the world to know about him, celebrate him, love him. Are people going to say dumb shit? Yes. Can you make decisions based off of that anticipation? No. Because you don't know what they're going to say. And they're going to say stuff you don't even see coming. They're going to say stuff about stuff you didn't even think about. And you're going to be like, why did I not celebrate my baby? Because I was afraid Michelle would say something fucked up. Like, who cares? So many of you are like, I want to crawl into a hole and die because I don't want anybody to know I'm pregnant until the end. And that's fine because you're so scared. I completely get that. But please, please, please try not to base decisions off your health, your happiness, your baby, because you're fearful of what some idiot might say. Oh, thank God you're pregnant. Now you can be happy. If anybody says that, that's dumb. Like, reevaluate your relationship anyway. People are going to say wild shit your whole life about all of this, all of this. So just buckle up. And I know not everyone is just quote unquote strong. And trust me, I'm not strong. I'll bawl hysterically if the wrong person says the wrong thing or the right person says the wrong thing. But I could not base my decision making on whether or not they were going to say something or not, because some people actually surprised me. Some people had wonderful responses. Some people just really did the right thing and said the right thing. If I had not done what I wanted to do based off what I thought they were going to say, I'd have so much regret. So much. But do your thing. Do your own. You do you, boo. I just know, take that into consideration. And it's okay to be protective and it's okay to be secretive and it's okay. It's okay. If you want to stay in your little bubble, absolutely. But only if you want to make sure the reasons behind that make sense and not lying on someone else's behavior. I just, the love for I just needed everyone to know. So yeah, and everyone was pretty good. The weird thing was when I found out it was a boy. It's like, oh, thank God you're having another boy. And it was like, what? We got so close here. And then I had to deal with that. But that's another thing. We've got a gender thing, and I've got another episode about that. Okay. So let's go over this. You guys had a lot of concerns, basically around anxiety with the ultrasounds. Now that's huge. So The very first ultrasound I had was to look to see if I had any stuff going on up in there. Actually, that's a lie. They screwed up at one of my follow-up appointments. I didn't need an ultrasound, but they accidentally put it down that I needed one. So I was bawling hysterically on the table because the last time I saw an ultrasound, there was a baby in it and Brody was dead. And it was horrifying to have to do that again and see an empty screen. The woman doing it was like, "Why are you so upset?" And I was like, "Are you kidding?" And that was my first glimpse to how they don't fucking read the chart. They don't. She couldn't understand why I was bawling hysterically. Like, and I was shaking. It was awful. Now, I will say that did happen a lot in the first trimester. So I had my confirmation appointment and I was shaking. I brought my husband. I was like, how do I handle this? I brought my breath work. I brought like a little stone, like it's a heart stone that my husband and I have. He gives them to me all the time. And I have a bunch of them, but I had one in my pocket that I would rub to kind of have my senses focus on something. And I was like, "Hey, tech, as soon as you hear the heartbeat, as soon as you see it, tell me because I can't do this." And she's like, "Absolutely, I got it." So I was very open about that. Now, I would freak out every time I had an ultrasound for a good, I would say probably until the third. The third trimester was when I was like, "Oh, yay, I get to see the baby. I get to see him today. I don't get to see him, and I can't wait to see him." And maybe I'm lying. Maybe it was a little before the third. Maybe it was like the movements were okay. I started feeling wolfy around 17 or 18 weeks. So once that happened, I didn't need confirmation that he was alive on an ultrasound. I could feel him. So I was like, "Oh, okay, he's alive. So we're good for now." Then it gets awkward between feeling movement and viability because like there was nothing I could do if he stopped moving. Like I would have to go to the doctor and they would just be like, "Oh, sorry, there's nothing we can do," you know. So that was a weird period of time. And then, yeah, from like 17 to 24 weeks. Then once he hit viability, I was like, okay, well, at least I know now that I can maybe do something if I'm not feeling him. I did actually go in at 27 weeks to get checked at L&D because it was like after hours. My office had closed and to get his heartbeat, to get him checked because I couldn't really feel him and I was spiraling. And I went into a panic attack thinking of going back to the hospital. And then I had some like contractions. So they stopped the contractions. They monitored him. He was perfect. He had no clue what was going on. And so that was fun. Fuck, you know, but um, I shifted in the ultrasound thing when I would get excited, but still super nervous. Always nervous because you always feel like the ball's going to drop and they're going to tell you something at this ultrasound appointment that you don't see coming. And that can go on until 30, 32 weeks. You know, heart defects or things they didn't see before or fluid or whatever. Um, you're just always waiting for bad news because you are now that 1 out of 160 stillbirths a year, you know, or you're that 1 out of 4 miscarriages or whatever the statistic is that you are. We are now that one. And so why not? Why wouldn't it be us in any other situation? Why would it not be us to get the horrible news? So, my advice for that is to not try to fight the anxiety. Know that it is there. It's your brain. It's basically like trying to fist fight your bodyguard. It's there to protect you. Your anxiety and your stress is there to protect you. And it's saying, "Oh my God, get out of this situation. Last time we were here, this was bad. This was bad. Get out, get out, get out." That's what your brain is doing. So, you have to accept what it's doing, but then you have to manage it. Okay. So, bring your tools with you, bring something to distract you. You know, your brain can't do two things at one time. So if you are just spiraling thinking about something, bring something to distract your brain, whether it's you know that 5 points of sensory thing. There's 5 things I can see. There's 4 things I can hear. There's something I could taste. There's something I could feel. Like that really does kind of help. Like let me spot some things that I can see on the wall. That stuff is really distracting and it can kind of calm you down a little bit. Your breath work can kind of help too, taking deep breaths. That does help. Scroll on social or look at pictures or bring a game like Candy Crush. Do something else while you're waiting. Bring a partner or bring a spouse or bring a friend or bring someone with you. I got to be honest, when I brought my sister, we just laughed the entire time and I'd totally forgotten that I was traumatized. Um, and go in there knowing that this is going to be hard, okay? But the odds of it being good are far better than the odds of it being bad. Try to cling to that. And I really hope your doctors are nice. You should be able to go in whenever you want to. I went in whenever I wanted to. Everyone I know goes in whenever they want to. You should be able to. So you can't control the anxiety, you just have to manage it. That was key. How do you not feel the need to go every day? So what I ended up doing was giving myself the facts. I can feel baby. Baby's alive. There's nothing to insinuate that he isn't. And the intrusive thoughts are the ones that I'm creating of scenarios that are not happening. It's the what ifs. It's the what if this is happening? What if this? If you keep those away, you could stay present in the facts. And somebody said it to me, and it was one of my therapists, and she was like, the odds of you having a living baby are overwhelmingly in your favor. Mainly because I've gotten all the things that could have possibly killed Brody in check. Monitoring placenta, watching the cord, Lovenox for blood clot disorders, movement, watching his movement. I've got my doctor on speed dial. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've got the tools that I need to maybe prevent something from happening again. But the odds of having a living baby are greater than losing another one. Okay. As long as you've got the check what happened. There's tons of second guessing. That's where the spirals come from. If we just sat in the reality of, oh, he's kicking and he's perfect, we wouldn't spiral. Hello? The spirals come from the flashbacks of before, and they come from thinking ahead too far in the future or creating fake scenarios that don't exist. Those are intrusive thoughts. Now, I will say I did get triggered a lot because movement, the last time I felt a baby move, it was Brody for the last time. That was wildly triggering. Having special care and more and better attention, that was wildly triggering because I felt so horribly guilty I didn't have that with him. Seeing ultrasound, seeing another baby on there, seeing their heartbeat, where I was told he died and his heart was no longer moving. That was so fucking horrible. Like, nobody should have to do that again. I did it again. You did it again. We're doing it again. That was wildly triggering. Sitting in the same spot where I felt him move for the last time in my house, triggering. The nursery, triggering. Thinking, bringing out his clothes again. Holy, bring out all his stuff from his shower. There's so many moments that are going to make you spiral. Now, the ones that we can really control are letting the intrusive thoughts come in or not. We got to push them away. Like dark clouds, like swat it. It's easier said than done, but you if you could practice that, that'll be helpful. New docs and nurses having to retell your trauma, anxiety over what they'll say. This is actually still a thing. I'm in my second pregnancy after loss. And yes, the other day, having to retell the damn tech because I was in a new office. It wasn't spiraling, and I didn't, I mean, it was triggering, but it wasn't like as bad as it used to be. But anticipating what they're going to say and do is rough. So I know some people call ahead and say, hey, I'm coming in. Can you please let the tech know this is my situation? Can you please bring me back immediately? I can't sit there in the lobby with other pregnant women. Can you please make sure that they know my history and what's going on here? Like I'm hanging on by a thread. You can do that 100%. You can even say, can I wait in a car until they're ready for me and have someone come get me? Just give them a heads up. Unfortunately, you have to do that. And you don't have to go into too much detail, or you can have someone else do it. Have your husband call, your partner call, your friend call, your mom call, another lost mom call, like, hey, so-and-so's coming in. I just want to make sure that her chart is read before she gets in there. Absolutely do that. And as a medical professional, wouldn't you like that? Thanks for the heads up. Because I'm sucky at my job and wouldn't look at the chart anyway. Sorry, I have like a lot of contempt for medical professionals right now. I had a horrible visit last week. Yeah, we'll get into that later. How to balance hope with anxiety. To me, it was like if hope and anxiety were having a fist fight, hope would knock out, total KO anxiety. Hope is bigger and stronger, and it is what gets us through this. Hey, use that visual. What does hope look like? What does anxiety look like? You can imagine anxiety is not very cute. Let's let hope punch them out. And there's no balance. Anxiety is going to overtake it a lot. You just have to make sure your hope is so much greater and so much more present that it allows, when you have a moment where anxiety's winning, that hope takes over and wins at the end of that moment. That's it. Because if you could lead with the anxiety and if you start with the anxiety and leave with it, you're going to be in a really bad place. When did you buy things? Prep and PAL. Nervous, I'll jinx it. Nervous, I won't be ready. If buying things, saying things, thinking things jinxed pregnancies, no one would have living babies. Newsflash. I got one thing and it said little bro. It was a hat, it was a snapback. And I stared at it. And I was like, I know he's coming. I just want him to wear this. It was an homage to his brother. He's a big brother, so he's a little brother. And it was me getting ready. Now, I was having another boy. So Wolfie was able to wear everything that Brody didn't wear. So I didn't need to buy any new clothes. I did buy a couple things that were for him because he needed to have his own stuff. He couldn't just be in his brother's shit. So you're not gonna jinx it. And while we're on that topic, if you think you can like speak things into existence, then look at it that way. You can't do that either. And that's not even applicable to this. That's applicable to like getting a job, you know? You're gonna be nervous as shit. It's not easy, but why not? You've already done it. You've already done some hard stuff. No one wants to do it again, obviously. But if it's fun, just start to really connect with the baby that way. Like getting them their things, picking out their name. I know it's terrifying, but that really will help you connect. Because I know a lot of mamas have a hard time connecting to their baby after loss because they're too afraid to. It's them protecting them. But I heard recently, like, even because you're so afraid that you don't means you're already connected. What? I keep up with the brain. Oh my God. Oy. Managing PTSD, especially uncontrolled physical reactions to triggers and tips. You have to learn that triggers are going to happen. They are things that reopen a deep, painful wound. Okay. They're going to happen, but you don't always have to react. And if you do decide to react, how you react is up to you. Okay. If you want to sit in it and you want to feel it for a minute, absolutely. But the key to all of this is knowing how to dig yourself out. Dig yourself out. Look, this is something you're not going to like. You cannot fix trauma while you're actively in it. You cannot fix trauma if you're actively in it. So what does that mean? For 9 flipping months, you are in active trauma. You are reliving your fears, your anxieties, your stressors, your trauma, your memories, your guilt, your grief, everything. You can't fix it. So you have to just deal with it until you get to the end. It is temporary. You're not going to be there forever. It's going to feel like eternity. You will get through it. There will be physical reactions to things, of course. You're still probably going to react to newborns or seeing pregnant bellies, even though you're pregnant. It's wild. Me personally, I did the whole desensitization thing. Like I put myself around it until I was no longer really, I was phased, but it stung. It didn't take me down. There's a difference. It's always going to sting, but it didn't take me out. So the more you do it, the easier it'll get. Um, I'm always convinced that the boy has died, never the girl. Oh, this person's having twins. Some people actually were relieved when they were having the opposite gender because they associated death with the gender that they previously had that died. That has nothing to do with anything. I will say though, stillbirth apparently is more prevalent in males and boys. I don't know. Stats, whatever. But that's not it. Every pregnancy is different. And you're going to treat every pregnancy differently. My second pregnancy after loss right now is way different than my one before. Someone's asking, is it any less anxiety provoking than the first? I will say yeah, but only because I'm wildly distracted by a toddler. It's literally it. Just distracted. Um, and I know that he's okay. And I'm leaning into that stat, like that he's okay. Um, the odds of him being okay is much greater than him not. I hate some of my doctors. I'm not gonna lie. I hate them. They give me more anxiety than anybody else because they're so callous. They just don't care. And I've been bouncing around just because of scheduling because they don't allow kids and the whole thing. But it does provoke a lot of anxiety. There's a moment where I'm like, well, don't forget, like my second pregnancy was rough. Wolfie came at 32 weeks by emergency C-section because my water broke. I was not in active labor, but he started compressing his cord and I had to get him out immediately. He did 5 weeks in the NICU. Am I terrified of that happening again? Yes. But is it far better than having him die like Brody? Yes. So I'm dealing with a lot. I'm on monitoring a lot of different things. But, I think what it is I've gotten really good at managing my anxiety. I like know it's coming. I could feel it and I bring out my toolbox. Man, it doesn't stand a chance. That's all it is. I'm like way stronger at this time. When I say stronger, I mean way more able to carry it, handle it, manage it. It's like going to the gym. If you just keep lifting the same weight, at first it's going to suck. And the next thing you know, you're going to be throwing it around. Still weighs the same, but you're just better at it. At home Doppler caused way more anxiety than I thought it would. I didn't trust it at all. I've never used one. Of course, I highly regretted it when Brody died. I thought maybe it would have saved him, but my doctors were like, I don't think you should use this. Now, if you decide that you do want it because you just have to have it, my recommendation is to bring the actual machine you'll be using into your OB, have them use it on you, make sure it works, let them show you, and then use it when you are really truly feeling like you need to check to make sure this baby's heartbeat is going. And then once you start feeling movement, I would I don't know. I would monitor the movement way more than the heart. Because what's crazy is I don't know if you're gonna like this or not. When I went in right before Brody died, I went in for a standard thing and I was measuring small on my belly and they wanted me to do an ultrasound. And I hopped on the table and his heart was beating and everything looked fine, but he died later, which means that his movement had started to slow. His heart was the last thing to go. And that apparently is a fact. I hated hearing that fact the first time. Did maternal fetal medicine discuss an increased risk of stillbirth after having one? Wondering if true and why. Okay, so apparently, when you're high risk, and I wanted to be considered high risk for my second and my third pregnancy because I just wanted to be overly monitored. My OB was like, no problem, referred me to maternal fetal medicine, which is a specialist. They just have like 3 or more years of studying than OBs, and they will monitor you a little bit more. They've got better machines. They're looking for different things. There's also perinatal specialists, kind of the same thing. So the increased risk I truly feel is due to undiagnosed issues that you do not treat, i.e., incompetent cervix, blood clot disorder, um, preeclampsia, maternal autoimmune diseases that are rejecting the placenta, things like that. I think that if you don't know you have those things and you enter another pregnancy, you are most likely going to have another one. Your body is not having it. Now, random things obviously can happen. A cord compression, then maybe a placental abruption, maybe a death during labor. Yeah, I've actually heard of that as well. But the rarity of that is almost impossible. I just think you guys, look, you need to take 2 boxes and you need to say, this is what I can control and this is what I can't. You need to do everything you can to have the tools to try to control what you can control. And then in the event that you can't control those things, have a game plan on what you would do then. And put that in the box of what you can't control. It's a game plan. Okay? I can't control if I'm going to have a placental abruption or not. But if I feel A, B, or C, I'm going to L&D, and I'm going to tell them I feel A, B, and C, and I'm going to try to stop whatever's happening. I can't control preterm labor. If I'm starting to feel contractions, I'm going immediately to labor and delivery. So that having that game plan is what balanced me out. Terrified my water was going to break out of nowhere. Okay, I can't control that. What can I do though? Monitor for infection in urine, because that sometimes will cause inflammation. Monitor the feeling of contractions, monitor the feeling of heaviness, lower back pain. And I did that. Like this pregnancy, I was on high alert. I went to L&D and I stayed the night. Whatever. I was fine, thank God. But it's better than the alternative. So can't control this, but I know what I'm going to do if I feel this. Okay. So that's kind of helped me a lot in this pregnancy. Having control over the things that I could control, but then having a game plan for the things that I did not have control over. Okay. So that really helped. Crippling fears, nightmares, and not knowing when to trust intuition versus plain fear. Call a therapist. You either need to do some ART therapy. I don't recommend EMDR while pregnant. That is oh my God, that is an intense process. And I don't feel like you should have that emotional stress on yourself right now. If you are doing it, cool. It's probably for the best, but I would definitely speak to a grief therapist because the fears are not exactly what they look like. Like you might be having some sort of thing that's going on, but it's kind of a metaphor for what's actually going on. So definitely have your therapist break down your fears and break down your nightmares. Um, Not knowing when to trust intuition versus plain fear. Okay, then you go in. You go to the emergency room. You go to labor and delivery. And then sooner or later, you're going to realize, oh, that was just fear. Everything's fine. Lived experiences are going to have you start to retrust yourself again. And that may happen after baby's even here, because that happened with me. Okay. But you need time to get to that point because it's all going to be fear based. All of it. All of it. All of it. All of it. You're like, oh, I'm just scared. Probably shouldn't go. And you're going to be like, bitch, maybe I should go. If you ever if you ever think there is a chance you're going to regret not going into labor and delivery or seeing your doctor, go. Just go. Is it easier after bringing your rainbow home for the second time being pregnant after a loss? This isn't easy. I will never. I could do this 4 or 5 times and it's not going to be easy because it is sitting in active trauma. It's sitting in active memories and active pain. I think about Brody every second of every day because he was in my belly and I was feeling the same things I'm feeling with Trey. It just, in any traumatic situation that somebody has been in, think about it, whether physically or emotionally, whatever it may be. Anytime they're going to be back in a similar arena, they're going to feel it. They're going to feel the fear. Now, I will say, wanting to give Wolfie a living sibling far outweighed how scared I was to do this again. And honestly, the fear wasn't more of losing a baby. The fear was just feeling this way again, feeling constant high alert, constantly tired, constantly emotionally drained, not like myself, just fearful that at any second something can happen. Living like that is really tough. It's really tough. But in my mind, 8 months, because I'm getting my babies out early, 8 months, I could do anything. And in the grand scheme of life, this is just going to be distant. I can get through this, get on the other side, and be happy that I did it. But it's going to suck while I'm doing it. Just get through it. I stay as busy as I can. I dive myself into work and projects. With Wolfie, I slept a lot. I can't do that now because I've got a toddler, so I'm up all the time. But finding the little things that make me feel better, food, fun things to watch on TV, going on little tiny trips, making plans, spending time with my toddler has been incredible. He really, really does help. So That I would say has definitely helped this pregnancy after loss the second time around. And I'll do a whole nother episode on 2 times pregnancy after loss. So this person says asking for and receiving signs from the angel helped from their angel helped so much. At some point, you guys, we do kind of have to take a stop and say, hey, how much of this is divine? Honestly, I know it sounds weird, but how much of this is getting help from the other side? Like, come on. A lot of people read the book Signs. If you're into that stuff, or if you're just looking for something to cling to, I would grab it. I just got it delivered. I haven't read it yet. But from what I'm hearing and what I've actually started practicing, like I'm a believer that there is something going on that kind of takes us out of our own reality, that shows us there's something bigger happening here. And I think it's really important to hold on to that. I really do. I keep telling myself pregnancy after loss is a marathon, not a sprint. Literally taking it day by day. That's all you can do. Moment by moment, day by day. Don't plan too much into the future. It will cause so much anxiety. Don't sit so much in your past. It's going to cause massive depression and guilt. Stay where you're at right now and stay present. And I don't care if distraction is unhealthy. You're going to sit there all day spiraling in the dark? No. Put on your Vanderpump Rules. Go for the walk. Go work out. Go shopping. Go do whatever you want to do. Eat whatever you want to eat. Distract yourself. Call a lost mama. Get yourself out of the funk, because it sucks to be in that. If you feel like you want to pay your grief some attention, please do, because it is extremely griefy. You're going to think about your baby so much. The one that's gone, ugh, it's heart-wrenching. You're going to apologize to them a million times. Do it. Do it. Because you're going to feel closer to them. And at the end of it, you're going to be even more closer to them once this baby gets here. My pregnancy after loss was very soon after my loss, and therapy was key. I started the month my baby passed away and continued until 3 months old. Yes. I started therapy about 3 weeks after Brody died, and I did not miss a month. Didn't miss it. I maybe even went twice a month during pregnancy after loss. Highly, highly recommend it. Medication. We're gonna get into that. Somebody says my pregnancy after loss was a blur. I don't even know how I made it. I blocked it out. That is absolutely true. It was the longest, shortest period of time in my life. And I tried to soak it up, and I tried to, it's weird because people look at you like, oh, look at the pregnant girl. Oh, what do you do? I fucking know. What are you having? Ugh, my other one's dead. Like, I don't want to do this again. Like you can't just get through it. And then I don't know about y'all, but I felt like really guilty, like showing off my bump, because I knew what it felt like when I saw bumps after Brody died, and I didn't want to make anybody feel bad. But at the same time, I was super proud of this baby, and super happy about this baby. It's weird. Yeah. So if you feel like showing off your bump, do it. Again, you can't make decisions based on how you think others are going to think. I know. Yikes. Terrified for not only baby loss, but for my own life as well. Complications during labor. Yeah. Trush. Definitely crossed my mind that I could DIC again. I would definitely make sure that this keeps being talked about, though. Like, we do talk about the baby's death and preventing that, but what is the doctor's game plan if and when something goes south with you? Okay, that should 100% still be a conversation. Delivery is not casual. They treat it like it is not. Accept that anxiety is going to be there. Control what you can. Exactly, we talked about that. Education. I was struggling through pregnancy after loss without knowing I had PTSD. It was hard. Yeah, investigate how you're feeling. You got pregnancy hormones, and you've got grief, and you've got stress, you've got anxiety and fear and trauma. But putting a name to it sometimes really does help. Understanding that you have post-traumatic stress disorder, and realizing your body and your brain are responding for a reason will make you feel less crazy, and then you'll kind of know how to handle it. And not only you, your professionals will know how to handle it. Okay, so on that note, this person mentioned that She was on Zoloft, weekly trauma, grief therapy, treated myself, still white knuckle. Oh, treat yourself. Go, my add to cart. I've exhausted it. Treat yourself. Whatever makes you happy, do it. Do it. This person was on Prozac. All right, we're going to jump into the meds. Look, 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 look. Here's the deal. I will never tell you what to do. Again, ask your doctor, look it up, research, do your own homework, and make an informed decision. Which is which? What is which? I wish. Which is what? What am I saying? I was able to do with Brody. Okay, so someone's like, please, I need insight on this. Okay, I don't think it's talked about. I have a ton of people that messaged that said they were on medication during their pregnancy after loss. Let's see. Let me see. I was on Zoloft after my stillbirth, continued on it through my next pregnancy. Look, Zoloft is the one that's recommended the most. I know this from experience because they threw it at me like confetti when I got pregnant for this third time. I did not take it this pregnancy though, for my own specific reasons, and I'll get into that in a second here. This is just me having a ton of conversations, and this is y'all, like, this is all you guys, like, messaging in. With pregnancy after loss, my doctor said it's healthier to continue meds to make sure I'm sleeping and managing anxiety to keep baby and myself healthy. Yeah, honestly, this person stopped sleeping from trauma and anxiety after loss and started meds to help. Yes, I do feel a healthy mama mentally and emotionally will help the mama physically, which ultimately helps the baby. So there are studies that have shown, and you can look these up, that mental stress and anxiety have led to poor outcomes in pregnancy. Some have said that that's even what happened with me and Wolfie. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. So, but that is a conversation that's out there if you want to look this up. This person says, I don't think I would have survived without it. Even with it, anxiety was present, but manageable. That's what this is. Sometimes we just need some help to get through certain moments in life until we're better equipped to handle it ourselves. As soon as this baby's out, will I be going on it? Uh-huh. Because I'm tired. Tired of doing this by myself. Raw dog and grief and anxiety and trauma. I'm tired of it. Do I want some help? Yes. Is there anything wrong with that? No. Are you shoveling fistfuls of it into your mouth while you're pregnant? No. And if you were, that's dangerous. Don't do that. God, they even told me the placebo effect, like it usually takes like 6 weeks to get into your system and even work. Told me the placebo effect will be much better than nothing. I'm like, oh God, this sounds so nice. So, but obviously there's risks. So you want to look it up. But Zoloft seems to be the one that's been prescribed for like 70 years and the most studied and researched. So this is the one that I hear that they are giving to a lot of pregnant patients, Zoloft, but look it up. This person said, basically, the baby will have withdrawals for 5-ish days after birth unless you breastfeed. Then it will transfer through breast milk to the baby. Not sure if that's helpful. So you do want to look into the risks and repercussions for the baby. Obviously, you're going to feel benefits, but you want to make sure you're clear on the benefits. This one says, I'm on Zoloft. I started before I got pregnant. It's the reason I'm able to sleep. This one said, I took homeopathic medication, Neurodoron, without I got those terrible stress symptoms. It helped. This person says, I wouldn't be a functioning human during pregnancy after loss without my Effexor. Benefit outweighed the risk for me. This one said, I'm 23 weeks and just got on Zoloft because I got into a very dark place mentally. Okay, this person said dark. Dark. Are you a risk to yourself and your baby? There's stress, there's anxiety, and then there's darkness. You need to establish what you're feeling, and you need to find out what's out there, what's best for you to help with that. That is a good conversation with a psychiatrist. Okay? I started Lexapro during my first trimester. I was miserable along with everyone else. Prozac saved me, allowed me the best person I was capable of being. I'm on Lexapro, stayed on while pregnant with my baby, my rainbow baby. I'm taking an antidepressant and PIL. My consultant said the anxiety is worse for pregnancy outcomes than the medication itself. This one says no insight, but have questions. How to manage anxiety over taking meds with need to manage. All right, we already talked about all that. I worry about taking new meds, feel they will hurt the baby, but also need to take care of my mental health. Okay, so here's what somebody wrote to me, because my fear of it harming my baby or having adverse outcome um outweighed my decision to take it, because I felt that I could manage my stress and anxiety without it for now until the baby gets here. That was my personal choice. There is nothing wrong with taking the medication if that's what's best for you and between you and your doctor and your research and everything. Me personally, my fear of taking it outweighed my fear of taking it. So, of not taking it. Yeah. Okay. So, just to reply to the anxiety meds when pregnant after, this was a DM. I was super against it. This is what this mom wrote. I was super against it, as obviously a lot of people pregnant after loss can be. I was nervous about all the risks and the percentages. I felt okay after 23 weeks that the heart anomaly risk was pretty much diminished after a healthy anatomy scan. Okay, that is true. That at some point the heart has formed into what it's going to be. Ask your doctor what they feel that point is. Okay, that means if you ingest something. Now, this happened with Wolfie. I had a horrible bladder infection out of nowhere. I don't even know how. And I was afraid to take the antibiotic. And my maternal fetal medicine was like, hey, look, any problems that it would cause would be heart related, but the heart is already developed. Everything's already developed the way that it's going to be. So it's not going to hurt anything. So I was like, oh, interesting. So that kind of alleviated some feelings. That was my doctor. Just ask yours, ask yours, ask yours. So this she said, let's see. From what I understand, the risk would be some respiratory distress, mild withdrawal symptoms, and a sleepier baby. I have heard this. Yes. The respiratory issues are less common, but for me anyway, even 1% counts for the death of my baby at 40 weeks. It was one of the hardest decisions I had to make in this pregnancy, but I knew I could no longer suffer the way that I was. My depressive and intrusive thoughts were winning over my logical ones. From what I understand, different medications have different levels of safety during pregnancy, if I'm correct, and very well could be wrong. Zoloft is one of the most studied and considered most safe medications while pregnant. Now, with that, there are RIs that, as there are with anything, risks, as there are with anything. I would never advise anyone to do anything medically that they don't feel comfortable with. But a healthy mama means a lot for a healthy baby. And she kept saying how hard it was for her to make that decision and bite the bullet. Look, motherhood is hard only for the good ones. Okay, so that means if you are wrestling with this, you just fearful of what it's going to do to the baby. I have been told by countless doctors that there's little to no really big risks other than what I just said here. Okay, look it up, look it up, look it up, research it. Okay, one doctor did tell me that there was some sort of developmental delay or issues that had been linked. I was enough for me to say I never want to blame myself, so I chose not to. But that is only because I'm weird and I'm equipped to handle this. Okay? Um the best way I can, and I'm almost done. I've got like a handful of weeks left, okay? So what I'm doing here is normalizing that this is the thing, and it's worth it if you find that you are in an extremely dark place, in a dangerous place, and that your health, not just your physical, your mental and emotional health is taking a toll on your physical to a point that it could hurt your baby or hurt the pregnancy. Ask your doctor, talk to your doctor about it, ask specific questions. I find that sometimes when we ask like blanket questions, they give us ridiculous answers. But if you're like, hey, listen, I heard a lot of moms after a full term stillbirth or loss, whatever it is you're suffering, entertain the idea of taking antidepressants or medications to help. What are your thoughts on this, doc? See what they say. Do a little Google. Okay. All right. We are getting down to the end of this. I thought this was going to be like an hour, probably longer, whatever. Okay. Here are what was helpful during your pregnancy after loss. This is it. What was helpful? Here we go. I'm just going to read these off. Went for a constant peace of mind checks, really helped me. Yes, go in, make sure your doctor knows. If your doctor says no, you can't come in whenever you want, get a new one. Dead serious. Get a new one. Just survive somehow. Well, duh, but hopefully the tools and the things we've talked about in here will help you survive it as best as you can. Group therapy with other PAL moms. We had a WhatsApp chat going 24/7, 100%. I would get some pregnancy after loss moms to talk to all the time. Writing the truths, things that were fact about the pregnancy and within my control. Absolutely. Zoe Clark Coates' book, Pregnancy After Loss. Okay, look, that works for you. That works for you. Me personally could only hear from people who had a similar loss to mine. That's just it. Not that theirs wasn't warranted, but I just needed to only hear from term stillbirth moms. Sorry, that was just me. Because I've actually found some discrepancies in experiences with those who have not experienced something like mine. And it's like, whoa, 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 that's not right. That's not how this is, just because they've never done it. So I just needed to hear from someone who'd done this. Maybe I'll write one. Would that be helpful? Keeping active, doing everything I could to bring happiness, favorite food, fabulous walks, escape TV, etc. Love it. I love it. Daily spreadsheet to count the kicks. If it deviated, I went in. Yes, I'm insane. Okay. You guys, I'm going to put you on something. It's called Count the Kicks. It is an app. I'm actually using it now. And here's why I like it. It's like literally just an app. And you want to count 10 kicks in 1 to 2 hours. Okay. And you want to do it at the same time every day so you can get your baby's personality. I did it at 10:30 last night. Trey was insane. So I was like, blah, 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 blah. I did 10 kicks in 3 minutes, and you tap the thing and the timer is going off and then it stores it. Okay. Then I did it again this morning. He was a little sleepier. It took about 15 minutes for him to do 10 kicks. And I just did it again. And I'm going to do it the same. You could set alerts. So you could do it the same every day so that if there's a day where you're like, homeboy is just not the same, go in, because as you guys know, or you should know, or you should be being told, it's not just the 10 kicks, it's how they feel. So on the app, you also can say, you can rate them from 1 to 5 on their intensity. So if you're having little tiny kicks and they're usually super aggressive kicks, and this goes on, like, you need to go in because something's changed. Okay. And if you are freaking out and you're overanalyzing, go in anyway. They're going to put you on a monitor. They're going to do an NST. Like, when if everything looks terrible, they'll get them out. Simple. Simple. What the fuck's wrong with me? Okay, so do the count kicks. This person had a spreadsheet. The free Count the Kicks app, I think, is helpful because it's going to make you really pay attention to their movements. Okay. Focus on what was true in the moment. Baby was kicking, not bleeding. Exactly. Tick off all the things you know that are going right, and don't let the intrusive thoughts and create things that are going badly when they're not. I'm sure I'll need this if I get to be blessed again. Thank you for sharing. Oh, you're welcome. Also, my mantra, today he is alive and that's a good day. Power through. People may not like to hear that, but you just power through. You just get through it. And hopefully all of this is helpful in helping you do that. As soon as I got over the nausea stage, I went back to working out, lifting and walking. Yeah. If your doctor says okay and you feel good, do it. I personally would contract when I walked on a treadmill or I worked out, so I had to stop. Making my own plan to kick counts, too much inconsistency by OB's advice. Repeating this baby and pregnancy are their own soul and story. Survive it and just keep telling myself you are literally doing everything you can. Compartmentalize my life like a champ. Focus on what I could control. I love it. Yeah. Dive into work. Get a hobby. Do something to focus on. Knowing I could go and get baby checked anytime. And therapy. Removing any judgment of myself if I wanted to go to labor and delivery for any reason. Yeah, and you can't be fearful of who's there and what they're going to say. Like, I was really nervous to go when I was pregnant with Wolfie because I was afraid they're going to be like, nothing's wrong with you, bitch. Go home. And I don't care. I don't care. They could be like, this was dumb that you came in. I don't care. What's the alternative? Not come in and baby dies? Ew. No, I'm coming in. That's why this next time I went in again with Trey, I was like, hey, we're going. I'm going. I don't care. Not even any anxiety about going. We're going. Repeated the mantra, different baby, different outcome, and didn't tell anyone for 6 months. Okay, again, that's what you want to do. Don't tell anyone. Seeing my doctors a lot, going in whenever I felt anxious, also a lot of self-care. Yeah, self-care is the same as distractions in my opinion. If it's a distraction enough to make you feel better, it's self-care. So find whatever that is. I keep telling myself it's out of my control, takes the stress out of trying to control everything. Lexapro. It was a love note to my son. Something, oh wait, hold on. Therapy, antidepressants, lots of crying, just staying busy, working on the nursery was very therapeutic. Took forever, but after 20 weeks, I started tackling a little at a time. It was a love note to my son, something I never finished for my daughter meant a lot. You don't have to fully move your baby out of the nursery. You can move your new one in and have them both in one place, if that's better for you, and focus on that, making this space. It's like an homage to your baby that's gone because it's still their room, but you can make pieces of the new baby in there. So it's theirs too. That's what I did. I called it the boys' room. Same doctor each time and say midwife. That's helpful if you were able to do that because then you don't have to explain yourself every time you go in there. I have the same OB every time and he's a gem. Love him. Also repeating to myself, this is a different pregnancy. Also treated myself often, no shame. Acknowledged the days that were hard and gave grace. I could only focus on one step ahead. When people asked the due date, I couldn't even go there. I know the due date's so weird. Acknowledging that it's mental hell and talked myself down like a toddler when triggered. I love it. I love it. What are you feeling? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? Yeah, I love it. Disassociated from my prior birth trauma and did everything different. Elective C-section. Okay. A lot of people do this. Like if you vaginally delivered, had to be induced and vaginally delivered. Some people do opt for a C-section the second time to not go back into that situation. To be honest, I had a plan to induce. I gave birth to Brody vaginally after induction. I was to induce Wolfie, and I was really looking forward to almost a redo moment, which is awful. Like the moment that I hear the baby cry and I get to hold them and all that. I was really looking forward to that, but I hadn't ended up having an emergency C-section. Now my OB won't let me do a VBAC. And you can only do a vaginal after a C-section, apparently, if you go into labor, and that's not happening. So I have to do another C-section. And to be quite honest with you, I can't even imagine getting induced again and going back to what happened with Brody. It's interesting, but just know that if you want to do that after vaginal, people do that. Talk to your doctor, though. Talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctor. Started Zoloft in the hospital after my loss, an increased dose during third trimester. Saved my life, to be honest. I could only focus on one step ahead. When people asked the due date, I couldn't even go there. Oh, I said that already. Due date was the top of the mountain, and if I looked up, I'd fall. Okay. Guys, let me just. People are human beings looking for something to talk to you about, looking for some sort of common denominator as well. What do you ask a pregnant mom? When are you due? What are you having? How are you feeling? There's really nothing else. Like, so what do you want from people? The due date is weird because honestly, I'm like, oh, I'm due, September, but I'm really not going to be delivering in September. Like, let's be real, but I don't, if they really want to go there, great. And I'll get into it with them. But if they know me, they know I'm not going to go that far. So, it's like kind of like pick and choose what kind of conversations you want to have with strangers and humor them. Cause then you just get out of the conversation. GTFO. One day at a time, go the fuck in, heavily monitored towards the ends, lots of contact numbers. Currently 27 weeks after 3 losses. I think I'm disassociated at least 90% of the day. Also repeating to myself, this pregnancy is different. Yes. And it's temporary, and it's temporary, and it's temporary. Guys, I hope this was helpful. It's a lot of information. Always here to answer. Find other pregnant after loss mamas. I am creating a website. It's coming out next month that will assist you in searching for pregnant after loss mamas with a similar loss as yours, in person and virtually. So hopefully, you know, if you're still pregnant during that time, you can utilize that resource. Um, but honestly, this is, you know, in a nutshell, it's hard stuff and you just have to get through it. You find your tools, both medically and emotionally. You control what you can control. You leave the rest. You have a game plan for the things you can't control. You say, if this happens, I'm going to do this. This is my game plan as far as this pregnancy goes. This is my protocol. Every pregnancy is different. My protocol with Trey is very different than my protocol with Wolfie, and my protocol with Wolfie was very different than my protocol with Brody. What are you monitoring? What are you looking out for? What are you going to do in the event that something happens? What is your plan for this one? You know, for me, I'm anticipating preterm labor, preterm birth. I'll start steroid shots at a certain time. We're going to be monitoring if the baby's safer inside rather than outside and vice versa. You know, things like that. And do everything, ask a bunch of questions and get your team in line. Really, guys, it's a period of time that's extremely challenging, but you'll be so happy to get on the other side. It's really just so damn worth it. And that's why we all keep doing it. Shit, I'm doing it a second time. Like, we do what we got to do as mamas. And you're strong, even just listening to this and trying to get some help. You're wonderful mamas to your babies, both gone and living. And I'm really proud of you for even trying to do this again and seeking out some sort of way to navigate it. All right. Always here for y'all. If you have any questions, I really do hope that this helps. Remember to always ask your doctors, do your own research, make an informed decision as an adult, and just get through it, y'all. All right. I'm here. Take care of yourselves. See y'all.